This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, September 5th, 2017, episode 138. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. At Nicholas M. Craig is my Twitter. InfectionPodcast.com is our website. Joining me today, a very special guest, Brian Aldridge. Hey, Brian. Very special.
I made it back. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah,
nice
well,
to be here.
You've been a long-time friend of the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Hey, so if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or you're more than welcome, go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, as he said, go check out our website. Make sure you join our Discord group. If you're looking for people to play Ark with, I mean, we've been playing Ark all week, but I'm sure right after that's done, we'll go right back to Battlegrounds for a while, and we'll be talking about that a little bit today, and then also a lot of other games. So one thing I wanted to make a note of, if you guys have suggestions for Game of the Week, let us know. Send us a message somewhere, either contact@infectionpodcast.com, maybe put it in our Discord group somewhere as a message that you have to make sure we see it. So maybe, I don't know if we have a channel or something we can make, and then just somehow get us a message and we can line that up. And then hopefully if you could be a kind of a sponsor of that night, that game night, so that you'll be willing to get the game going, make sure everybody's able to connect, and depending on the type of game, get it running. A lot of us will still be there, but yes. We're hoping to get it to where that way people are involved, and if it's a game that you suggest, you can be the one who takes charge of it.
Absolutely.
So. And then one thing this weekend, I actually did an interview. I went on site at a local podcast, and so did
you pimp us?
Yeah, I mean, it was about our podcast.
What you didn't tell me
about our podcast?
You didn't even tell me about this. I feel like
I know.
I feel like you're a cheating girlfriend or something.
You sound
like spaghetti.
Why didn't you tell me? I didn't remember.
So
okay. And so we did about a 40-minute interview. They do, they're not like us. They edit it down and everything else. So whatever.
We don't have time for that.
So when that actually is published, we'll tweet it out and share a link to it so people can check it out.
Oh, cool. Well, I look forward to that, Brian. Even though you spooked me there. Well, just.
I went on another podcast. Offered me a bunch of money. Sorry, Nick. Took my notes.
It just happens to be Tuesday night at 7. Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be the worst thing. It'd be the worst thing in the world. Brian, I've just got to admit right off the bat, since we're airing out dirty laundry, I guess I didn't play Ark at all.
Yeah, I know.
I got called. I got called to travel last Thursday evening, and I was away all weekend. And by that point, it was just too late to hop in. You can't hop into Ark 4 days into everybody else playing. It's just not. I will never do that because it's just not fun.
I don't know. Laura's been playing a little bit lately too, which is she'll play every once in a while, but she got up to, I think, about level 30-ish probably.
Oh, there you go.
So far, not bad. I think I'm in the 60s right now. But it's well, okay. So what we're playing on is an extinction server. So
yes.
With this server, it will erase after 30 days. I figured we do something that was no pressure, because usually we have people that feel like, and especially if we are on an official server. So there would be people that felt like they had to keep feeding the animals and doing everything for the next 6 months. All 2 people, maybe. And so I figured what would be good for this time, since the servers weren't coming up, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, we would just do an extinction server after 30 days. If maybe a new live server comes up and people are still into it, we could keep going. But knowing our group, it's hard to keep people's attention for more than a couple weeks at a time. So I have a feeling that 30 days will be enough to where there will only be 2 people playing still. And I think we're a week and a half into it, and we're almost to that point. So,
well, you'd be just a week, right? And the servers wiped last Tuesday.
Yeah, last Tuesday. So it's been 1 week, and there's just a couple of us that have been playing.
There you go.
Anyway, so a couple of people hop in and here and there. But we figured with 30 days, and plus that kind of gives you a goal. It's like, hey, we got 30 days to try to reach whatever objective we want to reach. Now it's probably like at 23 days or something like that.
I do feel quite bad about not being there for Ark, and I'm actually quite disappointed that I was unable to play. So yeah, that is
well, okay. So do we want to jump into some Ark stuff now?
Well, why don't, before we get into Ark stuff, do you have any Ark I've got a picture that I can show of the Infection Boys back at it again with
yes,
with the fresh artwork in game. Do you know who crafted this piece?
Well, that was about the time that Lance was playing, so I'm assuming that Lance had something to do with it.
And that he's typically the art guy.
He's the guy who likes to paint things. So
yeah. Well, cool. So we
he had something to do.
Had our little infection shrine in the server. Of course, doing the Lord's work, promoting the podcast. So I guess before we get into any news, I mean, what was your? I think I talked to you. I think later in the week, and you said it was really no different than, for the most part.
Okay, so Joe says that was Saul. So Saul.
Oh, thank you, Saul. Appreciate it.
So so here's the thing that has been kind of frustrating for me is, sure, the game is fun, but there's very little that's changed since the last time we played. I mean, as far as there are fixes and there's new dinosaurs and the normal new things that you would see with Ark, but the issue I ran into is I was expecting with this release to have something big and new. Like they were pretty much saying we're going to have some cool stuff, really cool things coming with this release, and here's pretty much what I gathered that the whole reason that they did this release, in my opinion, is so that they could do a DLC. Is the only reason that they decided to come out of alpha, because last time when they were in alpha, they
broke the internet.
Did that DLC of Scorched Earth, people flipped out and they downvoted them.
They broke the internet.
They wanted to release another DLC, and so they're like, well, I guess we have to come out of alpha. And so 3 days before they release this DLC, they come out of alpha. And there's not really anything different, which is fine, but they should just set the expectation rather than saying we got cool things planned. Well, the cool things planned are things that you got to pay extra for. It had nothing to do with the release.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
that is the issue that I'm having. I mean, the game is fun. The game is good, but I expected a lot more out of the base game from what they were hinting at for months now.
Yeah. Brian, you're a little out of sync. Would you mind reconnecting?
Sure.
So I think it's interesting to note that, and I think we often run into, I want to word this carefully. We often run into, and this is just common on the internet, No Man's Sky is a perfect example. While that game was an abysmal disaster, and the guy that developed it did frankly lie to people, the game was very hyped up by the internet, specifically by Reddit. Very hyped up, blown out of proportion, I think, in some instances. And I think, Brian, while I think while if your assumption is accurate, which makes sense, I think Ark maybe did maybe a little bit too much hype train. But in the same respect, I think the other half of this, Brian, was you and I and the rest of the internet going, oh my God, the game's going to release. Hey, it's going to be big announcements, big new things. This is what happens when a game releases. So I think it was a little bit of both. Would you disagree with that?
Yeah. And the thing is I think that they've still, for what they're offering, I mean, the game has made its money back for me in playtime by far. I mean, what I paid for it, I've gotten more than that share. I've paid much more for many other games and gotten much less out of them, right? Yeah. And so for what they offer, but I just thought that this was going to be a time when it was going to be like, okay, so here's some story, here's why you're in an Ark, here's what an Ark is, and there's zero of that.
Interesting.
And so the issue now is, I don't know if you want to, there's a DLC video there. I don't know if you want to play that because it's got some audio. I don't know if you can maybe have it lightly in the background
Yeah,
or
I
something,
can
or
do
if
that.
they want to listen to it. It's not super long, but it doesn't really have any talking.
Okay. I mean, we can.
And so this
yeah.
thing announced a couple days ago, and this is the new DLC. It's called Aberration, and it actually goes through and tells story. It goes through, and it's more of a guided thing.
It's like the forest.
This is what I was thinking they were going to do for Ark. And the kind of the concept behind this is you're on one of the arcs, and they talk about the arc, and it's supposed to explain more of what an arc is and everything. But this one, I guess there was a volcano or something that happened with this arc, and so it messed it up, like it broke it. And so this is you trying to get through and, I guess, do whatever with this. And I don't know a ton of the story yet, but with this arc, you're trying to kind of figure it out. It's got new creatures. There is no flying in it. There's gliding, but there is no flying. And this is out in space somewhere. And you can kind of see at the end, like you're on a planet looking out, and you can see like it's over another planet. So this one is the one that they were like, oh, this has the story, this has everything. Well, I'm just curious, why didn't they do this with the main story and then have a DLC that takes you out to explore, this aberration of the arc that you know what an arc is now, because you don't even know what an arc is to know what an aberration is.
Of course, yeah.
So the thing is you have an arc that you're in, right, with the regular game, and then this is supposed to be a broken version of it. And so they're not even telling you, they're only telling you about this broken version.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I kind of find that kind of frustrating. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't bother. Obviously, they put all the work into this one. All the stuff for doing the story is there. Now, this will be with a season pass. You can get 3 total DLCs. So the first one is Scorched Earth.
Okay.
The second one is Aberration. And then there's another one that they're going to be doing. So you pay for the base game, which now I think is $50-something, correct?
Probably 59 if I had to guess.
So the base game is $59.99 right now. And then you can get the season pass for $44.99.
Okay. That's to be fair, that is right on track with Call of Duty and Battlefield and a lot of other games. So before you say, "Oh, that's ridiculously priced."
No, I didn't. I'm not saying it's bad.
No, I'm not saying you. But in general,
surprising.
people make a wow, $44 for Call of Duty's season pass is $50. And normally you get a better deal by buying like a limited edition that comes with the game and the season pass, and it's normally like $10 or $20 off buying them separately. But nevertheless, that is kind of on track with some of the other stuff. Now the question is, does the DLC provide you $45 worth of content?
So, okay. And being that I've played Scorched Earth, right? So I can give kind of a third of it. And one thing, if you own Scorched Earth already, it's 33% off. By accident, they made it so everybody had 33% off originally.
Okay.
And they fixed that. I mean, I can't really verify that because I see 33% off still, but
Gotcha.
I brought it up in their chat and they said that was a mistake. Only people that have Scorched Earth were supposed to get a third of the price off. And so it's $29.99 if you own Scorched Earth already. Because I was frustrated saying I paid for a deal 1/3 of this DLC, right? And I'm paying the same price as anyone else. I paid $30, I think, or something like that, $20 to $30 for Scorched Earth.
Yeah.
And I'm paying the exact same amount. And they said, because other people were telling me they didn't own Scorched Earth and they were seeing the same price I was. And as I said, that was a mistake. And so now you get it for $29.99 if you own Scorched Earth, for $44.99 if you don't.
And you complained about this last week, right? I mean, this was like
yes,
specifically complained.
I was
about
saying
that
for some reason, why am I paying the same price? And that's now cleared up to where only people that are supposed to get the discount will.
We're trendsetters here.
Yes.
Policy changers. We make things happen.
We're directing things.
We're a big deal. just deal with it.
And so with Scorched Earth, it's a lot of fun. It's a totally different environment. I don't get the sense that it's an arc. I never did. It just seems like a big desert. I never get the sense that you're in something that's being controlled, just like you don't really get that sense in the first one. I mean, do you ever feel like there's something bigger beyond you happening other than you see those beacons when you play Ark?
I mean, it makes sense.
But do you sense it? Like, do you feel that at all? Or do you just feel like you're a
But see, like, I don't really,
person?
but I just really don't get into the games like that. Like, to be perfectly honest with you, like, I never really, I don't really think anything about, about any of the story. It's just, for me, I never got into that stuff, but of course.
You're just running around doing stuff. But I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
But there should be a meaning, because you don't, I mean, these, huge, things in the sky with glowing lights, it should have a meaning. I mean, that's what you
like. Why are they dropping? Why are they constantly dropping gear in there?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do these things exist? Like, why do I have something in my arm? Those are questions that were never answered. And supposedly, if you go get all the artifacts, you can read them and somehow you can piece some sort of a story together. But really, most people, like, you get them, you don't pay any attention. You're not telling the story to the person who just plays it normally.
Yeah.
Now with Aberration, it looks like it's going to be still a big difference from Scorched Earth. And then whatever this third one is, I think that if you're into Ark and you really enjoy playing Ark, you will get your money's worth out of the $44.99. But if it's something that you play really casually, like, I mean, a lot of us play it casually. We'll do Ark when we play it as a group for a couple of weeks, and then we're done. But there's people that play this constantly. And there's people who have played it for a year now, constantly. And so I think that with this, if you can get that, if you're that kind of a person, that's fine. You'll think it's well worth the price. But I think a lot of our group, they may not get the DLC, because for them, it's something they'll go in, they'll play for a week. And if it's worth that much money for you to go in and play for a week and check it out, maybe play for a couple of weeks, if it has some story to it. But it's one where still you go and you build. It's made to transfer over high level characters into. So if you don't really play it that much, you don't have those high level characters to really focus on. So
interesting.
So I don't know. It just got it. It was really just off-putting for me. I mean, I don't know. The communication this last couple of weeks with them has been so bad. As far as them to the community, how much of all the stuff was not working.
How much of this, though, revolved around PAX West that just wrapped up? Because, I mean, they did have a huge showing with that damn dinosaur that I wanted to ride at PAX East at PAX West. Do you think that had?
So that's the thing, is most of their people were there.
Yeah.
But even just sending a note out saying, all right, things aren't working right now. They would send a note way late, like 6 hours after they said something was going to be fixed. Then they'd say, oh, it's still not fixed. We don't know when it's going to be fixed. 6 hours, like, there's some time you can figure out within 6 hours. If it's an hour late, send a message saying, hey, we're working to get it fixed. It's still not fixed. Not 6 hours, not 12 hours. I mean, they're having messages that are half a day afterwards or never at all. For them to do they had the big countdown on their website that was days out, that countdown that was happening, and it kind of showed some graphics in the background.
Yeah.
They were an hour late for that.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Like, they're getting ready to do their big reveal, and they said, make sure you show up into Twitch at 9 o'clock or whatever, 9 o'clock my time, I think it was. And they were an hour late for that. And they didn't send a message. They didn't put up anything saying why. They just said, oh, there was traffic. That's what they said. You don't show up early for your big reveal at PAX. Craziness to me.
And it's interesting because this is the first time we've seen anything like this sorts out of the Ark team. I mean, for the most part, they've been spot on with everything since, for as long as we've been talking about it. They've been pretty forward with information, pretty accurate with information for the most part. part pretty, I want to say reliable. Maybe that's not the best word, but reliable with stuff. This just, do you think it was just maybe, and this is the sense that I get, just too much going on at one time because, and I have to feel the need to remind everybody of this. This is not Activision. This is not Blizzard. This is not EA. This is not THQ. This is not Ubisoft.
A quarter to half their team at PAX.
Yeah, that's my point. This is not a 700-person staffed Activision studio. This is, I mean, it's a decent development house, but it's not, and this is the first thing. Like, this is your first game release, your first console certification, your first, all of this stuff. You just think maybe it finally caught up. Just too much.
I think
caught
so.
up.
First of all, their servers, I don't think they've ever gotten all the US or the US PC servers up.
That's not,
because we didn't see them. They never mentioned, oh, whoops, we never got the PC servers up. The reason that we didn't originally play on PC officials is because there were none. I mean, you can't have what, 5 million people who own it or something on 22 PvP servers.
Yeah, I agree.
And so they just really dropped the ball on that. And so they were like, oh, we're working on getting the PS4 and Xbox servers up. We're working on getting those up. And okay, so I brought up a long time ago, how are they going to deal with having all of these servers that 6 months later are going to be almost all empty? How are they going to deal with the day one load of people wanting to play for the first couple weeks and then having to deal with it being empty however many months later? And they dealt with it by not even bothering to put up extra servers.
Well, they did say, and this doesn't combat this point, but they did say that they are going to retire the original servers, and I would imagine those retired original servers will get then transformed into.
Well, the thing is, they already did that. Servers. Those were these new ones.
No, but they said over time, those old ones. Yeah, but they said over time the old ones are going to get retired, and then I would imagine as they retire an old one, they'd put a new one on. But at that point, who cares? I mean, people aren't going to server hop. I mean, you may get lucky.
Well, you can. I mean, now you can transfer and do everything else. So
true.
It doesn't really matter too much. But the thing is you just have a high level server and it's high level people moving around. Like, they don't give that fresh experience. I guess Extinction, and that's what we'll probably, if we like it, we'll stick with doing Extinctions when we play, because you're constantly always going to be dealing, when you can do server transfers with those alpha servers, just totally controlling the server. With an Extinction server, your goal is can we be the alpha for a month? Which, our group could, if they have the motivation to play. And then I think with the big letdown of this, there was just no motivation by people to play.
Well, that's interesting. I saw you did have a whole bunch of people in there. I don't remember if it was Friday night or Saturday night.
It was Friday night.
Friday night. There was there's probably 15 or 20 of you in there.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
good turnout.
We're one of the biggest groups on this. We're one of the biggest as far as advanced level on the server right now. And so, we're doing all right, but it's just, if we had everybody there, like, we would just be dominating the server. But there's not the motivation to play when it's the same game that it really was a month ago, 2 months ago.
All right, Brian, then let me just ask you this question directly. Whose fault is this? Is this the community's fault or the developers' fault?
I think the fumble on the launch is definitely the developers' fault.
Okay.
Just being able to provide servers. That the reason that they said that they didn't have enough servers is because they messed up on a script that was supposed to auto deploy and create these servers. For some reason, they didn't try to launch it until the day of release. They didn't actually test it and make sure it worked. And that comes down to one person, because this seems like the way it works over there. One person has a job and that's their thing. Well, one person didn't do their job and messed up their whole launch for PC, PS4, and Xbox. One person. And so, that is a huge mistake. And it took them 24 hours to start launching servers. I could have started from scratch and created a script to launch servers in a couple hours. 100 servers. I could have launched 100 servers in a couple hours if they had hardware. So I don't know what in the world was taking it so long. They say, oh, there's a bunch of security things we have to do. Well, really? I mean, how you guys have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
You already know what's in. I don't know what all the security things are in place, but if you gave me 6 hours and you went over it with me, we could do it, right? I mean, there's no excuse for not having servers up in 24 hours.
I agree. There's no excuse. Now,
so
and plus they're using Amazon.
They should have tested it.
I mean, those servers are
I'm
dynamic.
not sure what they're doing now.
I'm pretty sure they're on Amazon.
Sure.
And if that's the case, then there's even less of an excuse.
If they are, they should. There's no excuse. The hardware should have been ready. Like this should have all been tested for all this time that they were saying because of the like a month delay that they had. This could have all been 100% tested, and it wasn't. So
okay, so we've got that part. We agree that the server and stuff, of course, is their fault. The expectation, Brian, of this
of what the game should have been. So they never
that?
said. I think it's half our fault, half their fault.
Okay.
They hinted at something being big and cool for the release. I think they shouldn't expect us to think that that is going to be a separately purchasable DLC. There's no when you're saying this game, the one that they're pointing at and saying here, well, this one's being released and there's going to be something really cool with it. Well, there's nothing really cool with that game. There's a whole new game that relies on that game that is coming out that's really cool. So I think that for them, they shouldn't have said that. They should say, after we release, we've got some other cool things to give you. That would have been a true statement. Saying that there's cool things that were going to be happening on release was not true because there was nothing cool that happened. There was some new ending that I'm not going to watch, but all it is that cut scene at the end, and they changed the boss fight at the end, which 90% of the players will never see.
I think it's higher than that.
They'll see it in a YouTube video.
I think it's higher than that. It's probably like 95% of players.
Well, I'm not saying exact.
People don't play.
I mean, I'm trying to be fair with it, but almost everybody will never see that. They'll never get to that point. And so the only cool thing that you added and changed is for a small, less than 10% of the community. And so it's frustrating, but as I said, this game is worth the money. I just wish they would have had real expectations of putting it out there and saying, pretty much what we're releasing for ARC, that's pretty much the start. And then we have things we're going to be adding to it. What you see right now is pretty much what we're releasing. And then we're going to have some expansions that really add onto the story and tell and show you what happened. That's it.
So, all right. So we've answered a couple of those questions. Now the next thing, and PH brought this up earlier, and it's happened to have scrolled by. But right now we're talking about, you were talking about them being late or whatever. This is unfortunately what these early access developers are going to deal with, because as he said, and as I will agree with, and I'm sure you would agree with, Brian, when you charge $59.99 for your game, things like this are not acceptable, and they deserve, and you should expect backlash and retaliation from the community because of it. That is when you're charging, when I go out to the store and I want to buy your game and I have to spend over $100, we're talking with the game and the season pass, over $100 to get access to those pieces of content. Things like this are not acceptable. And this is unfortunately.
Well, imagine how many people bought it physical copy on release date. They went home, let's say for PS4 and Xbox, and they couldn't even play it. Nothing. It was 24 hours after people purchased it or received their copy, their physical copy, or purchased it, that it actually started getting a few servers up.
I don't know. I want to, again, I feel like I want to reserve judgment, but I mean, Brian, the reason this happened, this all happened because this is a company that does not have experience in bringing a full-fledged finished product to market. That's just, I mean, that's what it comes down to. They don't have the experience, and there's only one way you gain the experience. I mean, look at all the botched launches that EA has had. I mean, seems like every freaking game that EA publishes is a disaster on launch. They learn from it. Maybe, who knows? I mean, you remember the SimCity launch, the new SimCity that came out a couple of years ago, 2011 or something? Yeah. Just you couldn't play the game for days after it came out. So, part of me wants to say, this is a learning thing. They'll get it. But then, the other half of me says, but then, you've got other companies like EA and Ubisoft who constantly have this issue. But I think everybody can universally agree the inexperience in being able, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just the inexperience of bringing a full-fledged product to the market. They don't have the experience. They just don't have it. And the only way you get it is by bringing it to the market and making mistakes, unfortunately. But that's just kind of how this works.
I think that maybe it could be that there's a really relaxed environment over there in some areas. And like their community managers there, just the fact that they let that go the way it did, because they're the pretty much the mouthpiece of the company. And that's something that I just really saw the inexperience there, not to bash them, but honestly, the fact that they showed up an hour late for their big reveal, which they were the mouthpieces for, the fact that they didn't bother to say anything to the community who's sitting there waiting 6 hours, and then 12 hours, and just not like one thing about Smedley that he did well, and he wasn't a community manager, but he was the mouthpiece for the company. One thing that he did well is when things were going crazy with H1Z1, he was sending out tweets. Hey, we're getting new hardware in. Hey,
got him in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, but he kept constant contact.
Yeah.
And he sent those little notes. You've got two community managers here, and just for them to go totally dead. Like one thing, let's look at PUBG. I like to show them as a good example of what if you look at Poopy Queen, and a perfect example of what a community manager should be doing. If you look at what I saw, remember when she originally got blocked on Twitter because she couldn't send any more messages?
Yeah, no DM.
She was sending so many messages early launch, just because answering questions and just and Twitter couldn't figure out how this lady was sending so many messages. Well, that obviously wasn't an issue and wasn't what was happening at Wildcard here. But because they would just go, I would go look at their feeds, like I was refreshing, like when are they going to send an update? And I would sit there for hours, not a single update.
But it's so weird, Brian. This is a complete 180 of the entire process. So something happened here. And honestly, I believe this is the combination of PAX, of them launching the game, of internal things going on. I just think it was the perfect storm of everything. And I think it just caught up to some of these people, and it caught them off guard, because this was nothing like we saw during development. Nothing. So I think that for them, this was something that left that kind of automated process of what they're used to, like the standard set of here's what we do, like we release. I think before they had it and they got it down really well. They got like a cadence. They would get it to where, okay, we do this, they release, we click, we post this, we do this, and this totally went off that script. And I think we saw what happened is pretty much that. At that point, when it went off script, like everything fell apart. Yeah.
And I don't know that it was the developers, but somebody who was in charge of the servers, and it could have been that it was some contracted person they didn't say, they didn't have that communication, but somebody dropped the ball on server.
Absolutely.
And then the PR department dropped the ball. And then as far as new content, in my eyes, that dropped the ball. Like it wasn't what I expected. It was a big letdown. And I think for me, it just really hurt what I viewed them as being capable of. Because what have they been doing for the last however many months when they were coming up with all these great surprises? What they were doing, they weren't working on anything for the regular arc, because they were working on this DLC. That's been all that stuff they've been saying. We're working on cool things. We're really busy with these cool things. It's just a DLC they were working on. That should be totally separate. Don't tell me you're working on cool things for the game that I supposedly am playing right now, because that's a DLC. Unless you pay money, you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's unfortunate, I think, to say the least. The whole situation is a little bit unfortunate. Because I really liked Ark. And I still do really like Ark and the concept. I think the developers did one hell of a job bringing a game from, what everybody originally thought was a stupid dinosaur game to arguably the most successful early access game, out there. Of course, there's games like Battlegrounds and stuff, but they've gone full circle. They've gone from early access to a release. I mean, does that mean anything? Who knows? But they've done it. So it's just, I think it's a poor situation. It's a crappy situation.
I think they should have waited. It really showed their hand when they released a DLC 3 days after coming out of alpha.
Yeah.
I think that really showed their actual true intentions, was that they really wanted to release this DLC and that they were pretty much done with the original game and they just had to go through the process of getting it out of alpha. So and if they would have been just straightforward, if they would have waited, if they would have put all the time into getting this released that they should have, and then right before Christmas put out the DLC. That's what they should have done, because I think them trying to rush to get this DLC announcement out, and because the DLC is going to be released in October, I think that added on to all this other stuff. They just didn't have time to do everything.
So here's the question.
Because it's like they're working a whole nother game.
So then here's the question. Was it worth it for them to have this quote unquote botched launch so that they could sell this?
Or that DLC, possible profits from this DLC? I don't think so. I think they lost more sales, possible sales, than they'll gain from this DLC.
Interesting.
Because,
and in their defense, the internet literally broke when they released that first paid DLC, which, by the way, I know for a fact you don't care because you bought it. I sure as hell don't care. Yeah. But that just really, really ticked people off. So I guess time will tell if it was worth it. But overall, I guess kind of wrapping up the Ark kind of experience. I think overall it wasn't a good launch. I mean, they dropped the ball in too many places, and we ended up with kind of a botched product.
Yep.
So there you go. Hopefully.
So
one quick thing here, Brian. Hopefully somebody learns from this. It's not going to be the Ark developers. Hopefully the next people. Maybe it's PUBG. Yeah. Maybe it's some other game that's being worked on. Maybe they can learn from what this whole situation around Ark if and when they decide they want to launch their game. So hopefully this can be used as a learning experience for somebody, because that's what most of early access is, right? I mean, most of this early access thing is, oh God, like look at what these. I mean, I think a lot of people learn from the DayZ early access, like, hey, let's not release a product that never does anything. I mean, like,
well, and even we ran into the same thing with H1Z1. I mean, look at how much they struggled to get servers up day one. And you figured, well, people should learn from that. A lot of these early access games, when they launch, they struggle with servers. Well, here, these guys already know everything about the servers and getting them up. Like, they had a day one launch, like, flub.
Yeah, it was a flub.
Equal to a game that's released for the first time and is just getting all those initial purchases, except for the issue was these were just people wanting to play again, but not to play on those old servers. That's it. All they had to do is spin up the same as the existing, but fresh. It's not like it's a big new thing.
Well, and I think partially, and I've disagreed with them since day one, they screwed themselves by keeping those old servers alive. If they would have just wiped everything, probably wouldn't have had all these issues. If you go
look, how many of those old servers are dead? Like, there's 2 to 5 to 10 people on the old servers. So there's all these old servers, and then there's none of the new servers. All of them are packed at 70 whatever players.
I stand by my opinion originally that they totally screwed up on this decision to keep these old servers. I stand by it forever. They totally screwed up with this. This was a poor decision by them.
They should have launched this is a fresh game. But the thing is I think they knew it wasn't a fresh game. People were going to be pissed when they got all their stuff wiped And then they come back and say, hey, wait, this is the exact same game you just erased. Like, what's different? There's no change from 2 days ago on my max level. I have all these dinos, guys, to this. Nothing has changed. It's the exact same game. And they would have been pissed. And I think they knew that. And so they were kind of stuck. Well, we're not really changing anything. We're just, it's all kind of a fake launch. Let's not erase everything because they'll be mad.
Maybe that's what this is. A fake launch.
It seemed like it.
Very possible.
It was just purely for DLC.
That's what it appears.
Everything is the same afterwards. If you look, their patch notes are very much some fixed client crashes, fixed server browser, fixed cluster session list, because it wasn't showing the server. The day one, it wasn't showing the servers correctly. It was showing you all the old servers.
Yeah. Oh yes, that was a fact. So again, wrapping it up, they screwed up. But hopefully, the bright side is that somebody else learns from the mistake and doesn't. And personally, I'll just interject this here before you get into the notes, Brian. If anybody, I think, could possibly do something, like this and not screw it up, it's probably going to be Battlegrounds. Like, if there's if any developer out there that could probably do something right now and get it done and not have all of these issues, it would probably be the people and the folks over at Bluehole and Battlegrounds. But that's just my personal opinion. So,
and the fact that their console is being published, as we said last week, by Microsoft. So we know that there's not going to be a big mess up with the console. Supposedly, all this stuff, all we PC guys were getting totally ignored because the console servers weren't coming up. And the thing is, they had no intention of bringing up the PC servers anyways. That they only wanted the 22 that were there of each type. Yeah. So, all this big flub was for them trying to make a somewhat of a recovery for the console people. And being that it was 24 hours was the recovery, 24 hours, like console people are already done. You know what I'm saying? Like
quick turnaround time.
They're like, I'm going to take it back.
I bet you some people did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did if they could.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to run through these patches really quick. Okay. So as I said, there was the fix. I pretty much went through the first one. That was 267.17 on the 30th. And then the 30th, they also made it so you could now properly transfer the Ice Wyvern with CrossArk. Fix an issue with not being able to CrossArk transfer between password protected unofficial servers. 267.21, this is the 31st. Enabled player gamma control on official PvP servers. And then option menu, they put a setting in the options menu for gamma. And then 267.3, this was on the 2nd. They added server-side support for Aberration Season Pass cosmetics. And then 268.11, they added the feature, the Phoenix, which is that bird that you have to keep on fire to tame. Fix some UI text, client-side CPU performance increase. 268.12 increased Phoenix base HP. 268.13 made Phoenix 3 times more common to find on Scorched Earth. 268.2 increased Phoenix carry weight, made Phoenix Flame chargeability, used dynamic key bindings, increased client-side UI performance on large scrollable lists. I mean, it sounds exactly like the old stuff. This is all post-release. This is post-launch. And if you listen to it, it doesn't sound any different than.
Fun fact: we're just re-airing show notes from 3 months ago, and it's
I mean, what's changed? What's changed with the launch?
The thing that really pisses me off is the version numbers. Like, you would think, like, oh, we were at like 260
I was
something.
Thinking, where's the 1.0? Like, well, yeah, supposedly they released 1.0.
Or jump to like 300 or 500 or some like, marginal upgrade. They just went up one number.
And as Green Man said, it's like a soft launch. I mean, business as usual. We're just officially launching. We'll try to get some servers up, which they didn't do. I mean, that was the only thing that really happened. Was them trying to get some new servers up, and they didn't do it.
You know what's so sad though, and I feel the need to interject this, and some people are probably done with Arc Talk, but whatever, I don't care. The sad reality, Brian, is the only reason that they did this quote unquote soft launch is because people on the internet are so stupid.
Flipped out.
Yeah, because people on the internet are stupid. I mean, that's why they did this. We now had this stupid garbage launch because people couldn't wrap their head around the idea that, oh, wow, you actually have to pay for new content. And just because you spent $20 once doesn't mean you deserve everything for free going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, that is why we had this this mess because people just.
Yep. And I'd rather have it still be an alpha and do your DLCs, like release whenever you want. Just keep the product being high quality.
I agree.
And they did something just kind of ridiculous because they knew they would get a bunch of hate.
Well, and that's very sad. That shows a very sad state of things going on, in my opinion. So I'm sorry.
But that's pretty much the whole thing. So all of our ARC news.
All right.
So I don't really have anything else to put on top of it. I mean, that's
no icing on the cake.
Wasn't what? No, not really. I mean, there's nothing to make it taste sweet. So
that's quite unfortunate. Well, we are about 45 minutes in, Brian. Probably gonna have a little bit shorter of a show tonight.
So let's go ahead and we'll start on the next giveaway.
Yes.
So you do exclamation point giveaway. It's going to be a 30-point raffle. I'm going to be giving away a copy of Simple Planes. And this is a simulation sandbox building flight physics game. And this was actually donated to the show by Firebomb. So thank you, Firebomb.
Our man, Firebomb.
If you want to enter into that exclamation point giveaway.
Firebomb always coming in with the good giveaways. Now, I do want to mention, I put this in Discord 2 weeks ago. I forgot to bring it up. I don't remember. I don't think I brought this up last week. I was asked by Musty, I don't remember an Infection podcast without Musty. Musty has been around since the early days of H1Z1. We were playing Minecraft 2 weeks ago, and he mentioned putting a deals channel into Discord. So I've done that, and I haven't really promoted it, so I'm sure nobody posted in it. He recommended what he wanted was when people find either game sale deals or like peripherals, keyboards, mice, headsets, monitors, some BenQ monitor, whatever, or like kind of technology-based deals that you think are relevant to other people and that are interested in, the kind of stuff we do. Throw it in the deals channel, because I do this from time to time. I'll throw something in general. The problem is it gets lost in the wall of text. So we've got the hashtag deals channel in Discord now, and just post a if something is on sale, a game, a microphone, a keyboard, a headset, something's on sale, throw it in there. Just if you want to put like it expires whenever, just maybe some little backstory if it's possible, throw it in there. And then if you could, if not, I'll do it when it's over with. Delete the post, or if not, I'll go through and clean it up every couple of weeks. But that's the deal. The deals channel in Discord now is for people to just promote. If they see something on sale that they think is relevant to other people in the community, go ahead and post it in there, and then hopefully you can help somebody out. So. There you go.
Very good.
That's all the PR you get.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump into, I have some interesting things for Battlegrounds.
Okay.
There wasn't really any news per se.
They've been dropping the ball
too. But they changed their release schedule. And so they're not doing the strict week. So when they come up with a feature, they'll release it when they feel like it's feature complete.
Yes.
So, but I know what I think really is the issue with them is that they're really concerned with having something be unstable when you have so many people to own it, so many people playing concurrently.
Yeah.
One little thing can really cause a lot of people to be pissed.
Absolutely.
So they're having to get to a very stable AAA level of releasing things and making sure everything is very, very tested, because when you have a big flub, 800,000 people pissed all at 1 second can make a big wave on the internet.
Yeah.
So Brandon actually sent out a tweet here saying 10 million sold.
Yes.
So never do we think we'd reach such a number. Thank you all for your continued support of Battlegrounds. So 10 million copies of Battlegrounds have been sold, and this is before console release, right?
Yeah.
It's not been released for console yet.
I don't think that'll be out for many months. I think it's like March of next year.
So this is totally PC release is what this is. So, man, that's an incredible number. We don't really see this in the PC genre without it being a totally AAA studio.
Doesn't happen.
And usually a single player game, first of all.
Yeah.
You'll see numbers like that.
Skyrim
Now,
or something.
I made some images. I don't know if you can pull up that one, just kind of showing how we got here.
Okay, let's see. Let me pull a couple of these in.
It's an Imager link.
You know what you're doing, Brian? You're stepping on my segment, man. You're stealing numbers. I'm gonna do tip of the week.
All right.
I'll just make something up. All right. So this is our peak. I can't believe I lost my pointer. This is our peak daily concurrent chart.
Concurrent players.
Now, hold on before we jump into this. So here's a couple things because IGN wrote, PC Gamer wrote an article on this, and there's some interesting things. So the game has been out since March 23rd of this year. So, do the math, 6 months, give or take. And then according to this, 10 million copies sold, an average of 60,606 copies per. I don't know, a lot of sixes in there. But 60 and a half, thousand copies a day being sold, give or take. I mean, that's some next level stuff. And
they've never given a price discount. Like they've kept the same price since day one launch.
Yeah.
And good for them. They've never discounted it. They've never made people question, is it going to be cheaper today? Oh, I missed the sale, I'm not going to buy it. It's always been the same.
Absolutely. So just a couple of interesting things on that front. But let's get into these charts. So we've got, what do we have right here?
So here is just the consistent upward trend of the daily concurrent players. So each day you can see the peak for that day. And you can see it just very consistently. There were a few drops. Maybe that was server issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's a pretty consistent trend upward, and no downward trends that you could say happened. And then the next one, this is the owners. So this shows how consistent the purchases have been.
Yeah.
Every month. There wasn't like one thing. I mean, you could see there's probably some tournament or something. They'd probably be interested to say, what happened during that one bump that, made it go up, but could have been, who knows? But if you look, I mean, that's incredibly consistent for the purchases of getting from 3 million to 10 million. You couldn't ask for a more consistent graph. Now, as far as sales, if you look at the next one, just kind of knowing where the audience is, this has changed a lot. If you look at China, they have done an incredible amount of buying of this game recently because they've surpassed, actually they haven't surpassed us yet as far as owners. They're going to probably soon. They're at 19.93% owners versus our 20.88% owners that are from the United States. But if you look, there's actually more China players than there are US players. So, but I think a lot of it is that they keep them separated. Like people are playing on their own servers. I think there's a lot less trolling in this one. I just haven't noticed it be as much of an issue because I think that they know they can't get away with blatant hacking constantly for months like they can in H1Z1. But we'll see. Like I haven't noticed it be a ridiculous, things happening in the game. But if you look at the numbers, like there's more Chinese people playing than there are US people. And this is all based on percentages of that 10 million. So you could take 10 million and just, that's 22.91% of 10 million or however many players. If you take the concurrent players, 800,000, that's how many of those. But the 20.88% of 10 million is the number of US owners. So, and then if you go to the total audience, that's the next one. And this one pretty much just shows the number of players, kind of the similar current players, the average time per player, and then the medium time per player. So it just shows that, people are getting on and they're actually playing more. And it's just the player count matches almost identically as far as what the current players is. I mean, it's just both of them are going up like crazy. So people aren't get buying the game and then stopping playing it. People are consistently playing this game at least every 2 weeks because I think that's what it really keeps track of.
Interesting.
So,
well,
yeah,
we can say without, I can say that this is the most successful early access launch in the first 6 months. I don't think there's nothing that can even.
And there's been the reason that it's so consistent. I mean, Matt, remember how many just broken things and disasters and things that went wrong with H1Z1?
Oh yes, every night,
constantly.
Every night, I'm reminded as I fall asleep of all the disasters
just
with H1Z1.
Something was always going wrong, and you can't say that about Battlegrounds.
No, but it is a different game.
Consistent. Yeah, but I mean, but it's all the same concepts. As far as getting it to market and having releases and making sure it's bug free. If you look, this is all very similar, and because they've not had those hiccups constantly, just look how consistent their players are as far as picking up new players. There's not a break in that trend. It's always getting better because people always have a similar experience.
Very true. Very true. Now, we'll get into the amount, the current players later on in the show, but I mean, it's quite astonishing when you just 10 million. We're not even 6 months into the release, and we've already got 10 million copies of this game sold. And Brian, you brought up the great point. Just PC.
Yeah,
just PC.
It'll be interesting to see with console. I mean, they could easily sell another 10 million.
You're talking about millions of potentially millions more buying this game once it's out on Xbox and PlayStation. Millions more.
Yep.
I mean, you are charting into AAA territory once you. Yep. I mean, at this point.
And I think that they're going to pretty soon hit a point where they're considered AAA.
I mean, look. I mean, you could just look at this. I mean, it's Dota, CS:GO, Battlegrounds, Ark, TF2. GTA's on there, of course. Tom Clancy's Siege, Rocket League. I mean, these are big freaking games.
Yep.
I mean, it's giving CS:GO a run for its money. CS:GO, Brian. Arguably the biggest game played. That and Dota 2 are the two biggest video games played on the PC every single day consistently. And it's giving both of those games a run for their money.
And that's the thing is, if you look at this, I think that with the amount of sales they're doing, the amount of money that's coming to this company, they can do nothing to try to hold on to this. They can do nothing other than just trying to come up with new maps, improve the gameplay, not rock the boat too much, which is, I think, what they've pretty much been doing. That seems very much like the trend that they've been trying to set is we're not trying to rework everything and totally undo everything. And we'll get into it in a little bit next, actually, with King of the Kill, like with the new combat update.
Yeah.
Totally redoing everything, how many years into the game? Starting over from scratch. Like I think that's what they've been really trying to do with PUBG is just make sure, and that's why they left that release schedule of, we're going to come up with something new every month, and we're going to do server patches on this day. I think that they've gotten to the point to where they're so big now, they have to think like those AAA companies. Because one little mistake, and this is the difference between them and Wildcard, right? If you look at Wildcard, they made those mistakes. All the mistakes by doing something hastily and not totally taking it slowly, step by step.
Now,
and I think that's what Battlegrounds is trying to avoid.
And to be clear, and to give, and somebody tweeted me during the last segment, called me an Ark fanboy, which of course I appreciate. Bluehole has got experience releasing games before. I mean, Terra is a pretty big game. I mean, I'd never played it, but when I saw it for the first time, I absolutely knew the name and the logo.
Yes.
So they've got some experience. And
so when we were at PAX, who was the most professional as far as when we walked into their booth? Who do you think was the most professional?
The Battlegrounds people had it down. I mean, we were
as far as the people around. Like when you got in there, like we felt like we were just talking to him, and it was very personal.
Yes,
So I'm talking about
yes, it was
up to that point of once you got to him, there was a process. There was a person there. There was this lady who looked like she was very stern, and she was like, "Who are you?" You know,
we're a big deal. What do you mean? Who am I?
We're like, hey, we're Affection Podcast. Oh yeah. Okay, right here.
Yeah. I'm a podcast. Can't you see? I got this embroidered shirt. It cost me $45. You know who I am. It's right here in my damn shirt. You want a business card? I mean, come on. It's got a cartoon picture.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like when we walked in there was that sense of things were happening in an incredibly professional manner. It wasn't you're going to be passed off to this person. No, you had an appointment. You're here to talk to him.
Yeah,
we're going to make sure that happens in the best setting possible. Let's do this. You have this amount of time, but you didn't feel pressured. It was a very much different experience, and I really appreciate it. I was like, he has surrounded himself with people that truly know what they're doing.
But that's because of the experience,
and that's
Brian.
The secret.
But that's the thing that's so important here. They've done this. They've released other games. They know that when you just have an open PAX booth and you've got people running everywhere, it's a disaster. So when we walked into the booth, Brandon wasn't even there. She said, "Brandon will be back in 5 minutes. He's getting something to eat," and he was back. He was back in a couple of minutes. She said, "You have 5 minutes to interview him." We set up all of our equipment. It was probably longer than 5 minutes, but it was fine. And then we were on our way.
I think it was because they saw how we were talking to him. They saw that he actually kind of knew who we were a little bit.
I mean, he knew
right?
He knew.
Come on, I'm not saying it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they kind of relaxed a little bit once they saw that we were talking and we actually knew the game, and it just wasn't we want to just talk to a popular game.
Yeah.
We actually had an interest in him. Hey,
big fan of your game, man.
But so they kind of relaxed and they gave us a little more time, than that. But it was incredibly professional. But if it were a train wreck, she would have stepped in and said, "All right, interview's done. Thank you very much." And they would have walked us aside, and it would have kept going.
Yes.
That was the most professional. I could tell that there was professional people handling it, and it made me respect them more. And it let me know kind of what's happening behind the scenes. He has creative control of the game.
Yes.
But he is not going through and saying, "You're going to do this exact same way with releasing and all these other things," because he's letting the people that know exactly how to do it. And it shows the people that know how to do all the things with everything else, he's letting them handle that. And it's showing in these numbers, because you wouldn't be able to accomplish that if you were incredibly loose with everything.
Well, and I'm learning this now. The company I work for now has a structure of rules, not a structure of rules, a guideline that we follow with everything that we do in business. And I see a lot of that in what they're doing at Bluehole, how they don't lock themselves into one thing just because that's how it worked. We see that with H1Z1, and I've made the case multiple times. They're using their old engine because that's the difference. That's their company. That's how their company culture works. But I'm not seeing that with Bluehole. I mean, they are clearly willing and able to pivot if something doesn't work, even if they've invested time and money into it. And that's something that is different from a lot of other early access developers. And now at this point, money is no longer an object. I mean, they can throw the best party. The problem. I mean, they could start flushing $100 bills down the toilet, and it wouldn't matter. I mean, they've sold 10 million copies of this game at an average price of what's it, $25 or $30, something like that. So I mean, you can do the math. But I mean, it's now the vision is what's going to drive the money. Money doesn't matter. It's the vision now. What is the vision of this game?
They got this out on a shoe. If you look at it, like they got it out on a shoestring budget.
Probably
initially.
Yeah.
Because if you look, a lot of the things were market assets. Like they got this game out quick and cheap.
Yes.
But then they saw, man, this is working. Like it's selling like crazy. Working now. Those are assets. Those are purely aesthetic things in the game. They don't change gameplay. Everything else behind that, the coding and everything else, that's what makes the game feel smooth and fun.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that they took anything from the marketplace to make that happen. That's down to their developers being talented. But now that they have all that money, they're going through and they're making new maps with new graphics and just totally reworking everything. because they have the budget, but it's still the same game. It wasn't like anything stood out and looked like, man, that was horrible. That was cheap. That doesn't look good. Like everything has been good up to this point. And it's night and day difference between this and then King of the Kill as far as quality wise. So I don't know. I mean, I think that Battlegrounds has just even like we look at it now, we're like, look at these numbers. I think they have the possibility of surpassing this, and I don't even know where they're going to go with it because we've not gone into this territory before.
Next level stuff. And that's not some.
Yeah, it's going to be wholly new. And I think it could be something that could rework the genre of what early access is and the expectations are. Because, Arc was surpassing the expectations up to a point in certain areas. But then we saw in other areas they didn't do it at all.
Well, for the longest time, if you've listened to our show for any significant period of time, well, maybe not even that long. Maybe if you've listened to, what are we at, 38? If you've listened to 30 episodes of our show, you know that we, in the past have used Arc as the poster child for early access and early development. They were the poster child for how you should be active with your community, develop your game, be consistent with your updates. They were the poster child. And now Battlegrounds and Bluehole have taken it to a level that we've never seen before in early access. And Brian, I think you and I have a leg to stand on with this. We've been doing this for 2 freaking years. We've seen it all. I mean, we've seen games hide and hold out.
We've seen the worst.
Hide and hold out. Released, disappeared off the internet, tries to come back. We've seen it all. And I think it is the 100% accurate to say that Battlegrounds has taken it to a completely new level, something that we have never seen in the early access genre before. And I'm excited for it.
But also it gives credence to the PC market a little bit, because people are always saying, oh, console is king, then they kind of poo-poo on the PC numbers, right? The PCs are okay, but consoles are where the money is at. 10 million sales on PC is nothing to scoff at.
No.
Like they're bringing a little bit of legitimacy to the PC market, I think, saying, hey, there are people who are willing to buy a game in PC. You just have to give them a game that they want to play.
Yeah.
There's at least 10 million people that will play your game. When before, I think that was kind of the thing, is if you're releasing on PC, you'll make some decent money, but you're not going to make big money. And this is showing that there is big money in PC. And I think that that's going to help out. I think that's really going to help out with bringing good games to PC. I mean, look at Red Dead Redemption, not releasing to PC. Maybe they will at some point, but they don't take it seriously, right?
No.
Just a lot of these games that are purely console, and they don't ever bother porting when they could make some money porting to PC. They just don't do it. Maybe this will help give them a little incentive, because someone could go in a boardroom and look, someone sold one game 10 million copies. Like, there is money out there if we do it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that brings it to where we can actually get those games, and we don't have to go get a console to play The Last of Us or to play make it to where they're saying, okay, let's consider a PS4/PC exclusive. Don't give it to Xbox if that's what you don't want to do, but take it to PC, because look at all those sales you guys are missing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very excited for the future that hopefully Battlegrounds has given to the PC market, because in a respect, Brian, and I'm one of these people that understands that console almost always sells better than PC for most games that are released cross platform. It's just better. It's easier to obtain. More people have access to consoles than have access to powerful gaming computers, and it's not a debatable fact. I see this debated on Reddit every couple of weeks. It's just not a debatable fact. Consoles are more readily available to people than high-powered gaming PCs are. So hopefully Battlegrounds is able to shake that up a little bit. I mean, they've shaken everything else up.
I think if you can bring enough those people over, I think they're going to realize that playing with a mouse and a keyboard, you just have so much more control, and it's so much different for this type of a game than it is on a console.
Yeah.
And, you could start bringing those people and say, look at the better experience you get over here. And just don't make it to where it requires a ridiculous computer. Like you can run Battlegrounds, it doesn't have to be the latest, greatest computer. It runs fine. You may not have the highest quality settings,
Yeah.
but they've done a good job of making the medium settings and the low settings not that far off, visually from the high settings.
Absolutely.
And I think that if they that's another thing where they're setting the standard. You look at Arc, low was incredibly blocky, super fuzzy, but
almost unplayable.
The settings was just, you were like, what is that? Versus high, where it would run at 10 frames per second.
Yeah.
I think they've done a good job with this to make it so that, all right, you can get 100 frames per second, on a super high end card, or you can get 60 frames per second on a lower end card with a little bit lower settings. And it's not that visually different. You get to play the same game. I think that should be the expectation. You'll be getting more of those people coming over to the PC because they don't have to buy a new computer every 3 years.
Yeah.
Because I think that's been the issue is these games come out. It's like, oh, I have to buy another computer. There's people that only play a couple of games on PC. They don't want to buy a computer every 3 years like us.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, for example, I'm in the cone of the cone of realization now with this. I mean, I built this computer in February. When did we start the show? Started it in January,
February of
2015.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2015. I built this computer in February or March of 2015. So this computer is just about as old as the show is, and I'm in the range now where it's time to start looking at pricing out new GPU and new CPU. But see, that's just how it is. I'm not complaining about it, but you're in the time frame. The 2.5, 3 year time frame is when, for most people, you've got to start deciding, okay, what's the next step here? Maybe it's just a GPU upgrade, so on and so forth.
I think if they can start putting out PCs that aren't mass production, but they're gaming quality PCs that aren't $3,000 like they've been doing them before. If they can get something that has a decent video card and has enough to let people play games, right? Yeah. They could sell those things like hotcakes to this community that don't want to pay for a thing water-cooled, ridiculous computer, but they want something that'll run games like Battlegrounds. Like they just need to get those out there because the thing is for us to upgrade. Okay, this time if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to bother, I want to get 64 gigs of RAM eventually.
Yep.
That means I have to do it. Like for me to upgrade is thousands of dollars from where I'm at right now. And I think that, for the person that just wants to play Battlegrounds, that's not worth it. But if you can get them a computer that lets them play most of the games right now, that isn't a piece of junk, mass manufactured computer, it's kind of like a console replacement in a way. Like I think at the point when they get a computer like that, that's when people will start to switch over more.
Yeah, and I mean, and of course, as we're seeing the new Xbox Scorpion is $500 or $600. It's quite expensive. Yeah. So I mean, it goes the opposite way.
Compared to a PC,
well, yeah, you start getting in the range of $600 for a console, or like $890 max. $800, $900 for a pretty decent gaming computer. You start getting into that what's better. So the next couple of years will be definitely interesting. We're kind of off the rails in this show, but I think it's a little more laid back. But I mean, seriously, I follow the cool, the Titan X's and the SLI and all that stuff is really cool. But I'm really interested in when you can get a sufficient gaming computer that will last you, more than 3 months, that will play games at decent settings at a comparable price to a console. That's what I'm really interested in, because then you are opened up to, and I say this, regular people going out to the store, buying some type of laptop or a small form factor desktop that will do everything for $200 more than a console, or $250 more than a console. So I'm very, very interested in something like that.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be the secret. Now that they're starting to see those numbers in there may be that resurgence to kind of hold on to those people and pick up more of those people. Because if I think that PC gaming, it's strange, but might be making a comeback, because I think people are getting to where they're seeing, I have to buy an Xbox, I have to buy a PlayStation, I have to buy, I already got the Wii U, which I never played. They see these consoles sitting.
That was a bad decision.
Seeing those consoles sitting on their next to their TV in the living room, I think that they could see, well, I would actually use a PC more. Yeah, he's sitting there behind you. Do you play it? Probably not, right? Yeah, it's all sitting back there. Look at all those things, and they're not getting used.
That's not true. I played my Xbox last night.
Okay, but most people, they don't use them, and I think that they'd be like, okay, well, I can do work. If they could get a computer that they can use for work, but then they can also game, but they don't have to be a super nerd and know everything about how to build it.
It's complicated.
They just want something.
Nobody agrees with me. Everybody loves to complain. It's complicated, folks. It is not easy to go out if you have no computer knowledge and build a computer. That is not something that most people are interested in doing. That's what I loved seeing these arguments on the internet. It's not for somebody that's not technically savvy. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So,
well, I think that Windows now not having you buy new versions, I think that's going to help.
Hopefully,
I think now that supposedly they're on the one where you buy it, you
like
have
Apple.
Windows 10 and it's just it's always updating. I think that's going to help because that whole false thing that Microsoft did, trying to force people to new versions, constantly making them buy new hardware.
Yeah.
Because of your versions of Windows is out of date and you can't use that old one. That's being gone. I think that people are maybe more willing to now buy a PC because they're not having to, it's done when they feel like it's done. It's no longer, oh, you're using Windows, Windows XP. Oh, you can't use that anymore. I think that might actually help people buy when before they were trying to force people to buy new computers. But I think that was really hindering people and making them go to console because they didn't want to have to deal with it.
Well, I mean, case in point, I'm not a car person whatsoever. No part of me is interested in vehicles or interested in fixing them. So what do I do when I have an issue with a vehicle? I bring it to somebody else. Could I most likely fix those issues by myself? Probably, but I'm not interested in taking the risk. And I think a lot of people are the same way with the PC. Could I build a PC tomorrow? Absolutely. Brian, could you do it? Could probably most of the people listening to this show do it? Yes. But when you're telling somebody, go ahead and buy $1,100 worth of hardware and then assemble it when you've got no experience, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
If something
have people telling you if you go and buy one, oh, you paid too much, or that's a bad computer.
Oh, CyberPower. Yeah, CyberPower does charge a little bit. It needs
to be something to where this is a good quality computer. It's at a fair price. You can buy it and it's good for this amount of time, right? This will most likely play games for the next 2 years. And if you could tell them that 2 to 3 years, I think that would be enough to bring people back.
Yeah, I wish I would have I could have done some research before the show, but nevertheless, people love to, CyberPower's awful. I buy power. I don't remember. There's a whole bunch of these people that do this stuff. Yes. Are the computers a little more expensive than buying the raw parts? Yes. But you're paying for the not dealing with the hassle of problems. Now, $500 for assembly is inexcusable. Okay. But is $200? I mean, I don't know. You bring your car into
That's what I'm saying. They need to get it to where it's realistic and bring it back, because right now it's kind of like a luxury thing. I think it needs to be
how unrealistic is it?
It doesn't have to be a custom computer. Just have these companies that make computers like Asus. Have Asus put out a decent quality one with a real graphics card that isn't a piece of junk. And it isn't one that's like the Lamborghini of computers, because that's the problem is they show people Lamborghinis. Like, look at this. Oh, look at it's got water cooling with lights and it's flowing through the case and you can see just ridiculous stuff. Or you can buy this really piece of junk computer that has a super 512 megabyte video card in it. Yeah, it's like they show those. They don't show people normal computers.
This is the first thing I see on CyberPower.
Yeah, it's like, why are you pushing that for people? That's not a gaming computer.
It's a 4x3 monitor.
When people want to go buy a car, they think, I want to go buy a Honda. They don't think, I want to go buy a Lamborghini. But the thing they throw at you is, oh, look at this Lamborghini. Well, you're not going to sell computers to people by throwing the Lamborghinis in their face when they come to the lot. Most people are not going to buy those.
I love my PC case. It's the same case I believe you have, and it's got no marking on it. It's gray. Yeah. It's fantastic.
I couldn't. If I wanted to look up, I'd have to go look at my original receipt to figure out what the model number was.
Yeah, I just looked at the receipt. So it's a Corsair. Corsair. I'm sorry, it's a Cooler Master HAF 912 for all the people playing at home. And Falcon saying lights inside windows make it a gaming PC. Yeah, I mean but that's the sad reality.
It raises
of this.
the price a couple $100.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it absolutely does. But I mean, I remember what the hell we were talking about now.
Battlegrounds
and
people getting into gaming.
Yeah, so I do
PC
think
gaming.
I do think that transition has probably started. I mean, this laptop I bought, it's an Asus K501L. It's got an i7 and a GTX 950M. It was $1,000. It's not the best computer. The battery life sucks. But you know what it will do, Brian? If I'm plugged into a charger, it'll play Battlegrounds. It'll even play Ark.
Yeah.
I did play Ark on it. Not at the highest settings, but it will actually play Ark. So I think it's something like this. But again, it's $1,000. That's a lot for a lot of. I mean, that's a lot of money. It was a lot of money for me when I bought
if they could make something similar in a PC version, then they could probably knock down the price because they're not limited to certain hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they get that down in that affordable range, put it out there, and people will start to hear, hey, you can get a computer for this decent price, and it works really well. It's just right now, all the ones you hear about, you always hear something bad afterwards, or they're ripping you off, or they charge you too much.
Here we go. Here's a CyberPower, not a sponsor. I could give two shits about CyberPower. Here's a CyberPower PC on Amazon with an i5 7400, which is a 3.0 gigahertz processor, a GTX 1060 with 3 gigs of VRAM, 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM, a 1 terabyte spinning drive, and 120 gig SSD with Windows 10, $830. That doesn't. I'd have to price spec everything out individually, but for face value, that does not look like a terrible deal. Yeah, doesn't look like a terrible deal. Again, could you build it cheaper?
They need to be reaching those people. They need to be reaching those people that would be interested in or are playing Battlegrounds that maybe are playing it with poor performance. Start marketing to those 10 million people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean,
instead, when you go to these tournaments, you always hear about these those Lamborghinis. It's like, why is Lamborghini hosting a tournament?
Well, Alienware and
but Lamborghini prices.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the Lamborghini prices ones that are going this tournament. Get some normal, like, we can get you a computer a little bit affordable, a gaming computer that'll give you good performance. Try to push those at a tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like,
too much of a realist.
I just think, because most people aren't going to go out and turn around and buy those things. Okay, so we were watching on Twitch. I think you were with me. We're watching Twitch at some conference they were doing, and they've got all these little 10-year-old kids. I think it was for Minecraft or something like that.
Oh, yes, I do remember watching this. Yeah.
All these little kids. And then they got them all dancing and doing all this crazy stuff in the crowd. And then they're showing them a $3,000 computer at least. And being like, I'm like, why are you flashing a $3,000 computer in front of 10-year-old kids? These kids cannot afford that whatsoever. Oh, and it's sponsored by like
Alienware.
Let's show college students a Lamborghini. Okay, great. That's going to work years down the road when they can afford it. Show them a computer they can afford.
I'm looking at
show them a car they can afford.
I'm looking at the Dell Alienware Area 51 gaming machine. It's only $7,900 on Amazon. It's a great deal.
I mean, that's the thing is why does that exist? Like, there's a niche of people that play that would do that. But why wouldn't you go and build your own? There's
only 2 left in stock. Order soon, according to Amazon.
Yeah, they probably only built 2.
Well, it's your loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I presume a switch in the tides coming up.
I think the mindset will change.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the good thing is, because console prices are rising at such a high rate, because unfortunately, to provide 4K on a TV, you can't do it for $300. You have to do it for $5 or $6. And as the price of as microprocessors become smaller and cheaper, you can do stuff like that. So let's. I don't know. I guess we should probably move on. Let's do the giveaway.
Do the raffle really quick.
It's been about 40 minutes since we announced it.
All right, Stereo Wave, congratulations.
Yes.
So I will send you here in a little bit a link or a message in Twitch, and it will be probably in other since it comes from my account and we don't follow each other. So
There you go.
thank you very much for entering. All right. So we could probably speed through a lot of the rest of this. So one thing I do have some things with King of the Kill, and this isn't going to take very long.
You go for it.
So in here, I just wanted to, I was going through Reddit, just seeing if there's anything new. And this is kind of what is happening right now. People just talking about the anti-cheat inside of King of the Kill with Daybreak. Here's someone who brings up an example. They said every Fives game, you have a player named Longzhu and then a bunch of numbers who's unranked, beaming everyone's forehead while rollerblading across Pleasant Valley. Please fix your anti-cheat and remove Bloom while you're at it. And then there's just 20, 30, 40 posts after this. Everyone saying the same thing. You know, cheaters are out of control. This is just horrible right now. And then Daybreak comes in and says, banning a few major sources of anti-cheat as we speak. Hopefully a few more in a day or so. And then it says, hopefully this includes the region lock China cheat that all the Asian players are using, is what someone replies to him with. You know, and this is just them saying, you know, their remark they always say, we're constantly updating our anti-cheat. You know, do you think that they're to the point where like they just can't control it anymore? Like do you think they've given up?
They care. Nobody in the US plays the game. I mean, what did we talk about that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe? Yep. Nobody's playing.
Yeah, they're pretty much. But the thing is they're losing their China. I don't know what they're hoping for. I think it's crazy. Like that's one of the top Reddit posts, and it's everybody just talking about how bad cheaters still are. And this has been how many years? The exact same conversation.
About 138 weeks.
Yeah, 138 weeks.
if I had to guess,
cheaters are out of control.
Yeah. Now,
and then the same thing. I have a video here. I don't know if you can show that.
I've got it.
That actually shows, so this is their new Bloom system with the weapons.
Awful.
Now here is somebody who, very good aim, right?
Yep.
In a normal, back in the day, would that not have killed him? I mean, you see these supposedly professional streamers two-tapping everybody in the head. Like that guy just pegs the guy multiple shots in a row. And so this just really seems like another kind of FU to the streamer community, the professional H1Z1 player, because
it's a huge
if you can't kill somebody, if you can't kill somebody with the shots that guy was doing, like this maybe for me, this makes a more enjoyable game because I actually have a chance to kill somebody and it's not getting two tapped, right?
Yeah.
Like right now I go play and it's like I get two tapped by somebody. I can just kind of see the pixels of their character coming up. It's like, oh, there's somebody there. Tap, tap. Oh, I'm dead. So, I mean, this for me makes a more enjoyable game, but it really hurts those people that consider themselves professional H1Z1 streamers.
Yeah.
Because it's so inconsistent.
So the Bloom drama, like I can pull up this video again. Seem to have lost it. Hold on a second. Here it is. So people are pissed off over the Bloom, right? That was what the guy
pretty much the consistency of the gun, because they made it to where it now kind of does a more random shot pattern, right? Which is good. Like there's a lot of other games that do it, but the thing is that's not what made H1Z1 a popular streamer game. Like these streamers got to the point where they just knew it so well, and there was no randomness left in it, to where they could just, I mean, look at what some of these guys are doing. They're just going tap tap, and they're turning their bodies and starting to walk away before the kill registers because they know that they got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and this is just kind of taking that out the window to where you actually have to sit there and fire on somebody and make sure they're dead before you start walking away, which I like more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I much prefer that.
So, but and all the guns are a lot different. So like Stairwave is pointing out, AKs are not long range anymore. Pistols are extremely close up. I think this is better for the game overall, but I think it's a little bit too late. And, you know, I don't think you're going to bring people back by this. I think they should have done this a long time ago and not let the game get to the point of where it is today. Not that it matters anymore, but
yeah, it seems like it's too far We're down the road for that. Well,
They should have had the I think they were just getting so caught up in the streamer madness, and that's all. It's what they've always been about. And not realizing that what normal players want to have something that feels more realistic, and you don't have to memorize exactly the guns. Like you see streamers, like they go in there and they're doing ridiculous shots. It's like, well, how in the world are they doing that?
yeah, good question.
A lot of people accuse them of cheating, but I think it's just because the game is so consistent. It's kind of like CS:GO.
Kind of like CS:GO.
CS:GO is incredible. CS:GO is incredibly consistent, but that doesn't work in a game like this. There's too many inconsistencies with everything else.
Yeah.
So,
there you go. I
don't know.
I just love, because I do the same thing. I'll be out somewhere or whatever and have some downtime, and I'll go on my phone. I'll go to the King of the Kill subreddit and go to hot this week or whatever, top this week, and all of the posts are just people complaining about the game. I mean, it's just nothing positive. Not even any announcements from them. I mean, it's just people complaining about how awful how awful the game is.
Yep. And I think I don't know what they're going to do next. Like they just need to move on almost. I mean, really, like what can they do now?
And they released this post.
They're trying things.
Well, they released a post. It was called "The Future of H1: Some Context and Some Insights to Help Set the Record Straight." And kind of the main points of this were attachments are not coming to the game, which is something that we've seen work very well in Battlegrounds. They don't want the attachments. According to them, it goes against the DNA of H1Z1. They slowed the looting phase.
Why did they record audio with attachments a couple months ago, 6 months ago?
No, I don't know.
They were at a gun range recording for H1Z1. They had a bunch of guns with silencers.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
In people's minds.
No, I mean,
why put the hint out there that it's going to happen? They should have not showed pictures of guns with silencers and say, "Look, we're recording new sounds for the game."
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. But it's just so clearly they're not interested in doing attachments. They say the spirit of H1Z1 is going to be respected, and that the future vision is not going to be in the build for TwitchCon. It's a pretty long post. You can go through and read it. It's just a whole lot of. I mean, they just talk about their future for the game and what they think.
Do you want to know why I think they don't do attachments?
Because they can't.
I think because it's that much more of a chance that something's going to go wrong.
Well, it's too complicated. I'm sure.
Yeah,
which is
that's
fine.
What I'm saying it's
fine. I mean, that doesn't bother
I think that's the real. It doesn't have nothing to do with the feel of the game or the DNA of.
I mean, please give me a break. The DNA of H1Z1 has been
what DNA? Like what's been the consistency of H1Z1? I mean, you've got
the zombie survival
pig
game.
Masks,
yeah,
pig masks running around and monkey helmets and bright pink wrestling outfits. Yeah, and you're telling me it doesn't match the DNA of H1Z1?
Yeah, gun attachments.
You can't put a scope. So magically, a zombie apocalypse wipes out all scopes except for on sniper rifles.
I don't know what to tell you.
Everyone's now iron sights. I mean, it's just zombies ate them all. I don't know what happened. It's ridiculous.
Attachment eating zombies. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, they put that out there. But other than that, I mean, nothing really. So,
yep.
There you go.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's all I had for King of the Kill because there's no real news.
Of course.
So, as you said, there's people complaining.
Now, we do have some F-13 news, and this is a really quick one. A couple of this is just an update that they put out on the first. Now it's interesting. This was a hot patch for the PC and the PS4, but the Xbox One version unknown. So, which is kind of the opposite of what you'd expect, because the whole drive behind the Xbox One for developers was
similar to a PC.
PC and Xbox One architecture are similar, meaning very easy to do cross updates and stuff like that across the platforms. I would imagine something that the update has to be certified for Xbox, and it probably didn't pass that process. So a couple of the quick things in there. They say matchmaking fixed an issue that created a new lobby after only searching for 10 seconds, and then increased the ping threshold back to 300 milliseconds on PS4. You got to remember, on PS4, people are on Wi-Fi. It's not the same quality connection that you'd have on a PC for the most part. Fixed a couple of issues with parties, and then just a couple of other various things in the update. But they did do a hot patch update, and the links will be in the show notes on the website, infectionpodcast.com. So at least they're keeping consistent with stuff. They're doing updates, which is, I guess, all you can ask for a game that's in early access.
Yes. And so, I mean, they fixed a number of issues. I'm kind of interested. I'm not saying excited, but I'm interested to see what this new map is for them.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be a totally new map. This will be one that they've actually developed after that initial release. So hopefully they'll have more experience, and it'll be something new and built upon the last. So it'll be interesting to see. And since it's going to be using this framework, like all these fixes play into whatever new things they add. So, good luck to them, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we probably have time to cover everything, you think? Or how soon do you want?
I don't have the Rust video, but you've got something in here about Elite Dangerous.
So with Elite Dangerous, they are talking about a new 2.4 version, and there's actually a video here. The first one's 34 seconds.
Is there audio associated with it?
This one doesn't have talking over audio, so if you want, we can go ahead and talk a little bit over it.
Okay.
So with 2.4, this is hinting at a lot of the alien stuff that we were packs that I brought up, and they said they would not answer me on. I brought it up with one of their guys when we were getting ready to do that interview, and I said I'd like to know about the aliens. He says, well, you're not going to hear anything about the aliens. That's pretty much what he told me. Because this is what they've been building towards is this. This 2.4 is going to be all about experiencing and figuring out the history of these aliens. So, and this next video actually has talking of them explaining how they've gotten here over time with Elite Dangerous. So I don't know if you want to play that one. That was a little bit longer, a couple minutes.
Okay, cool.
I've always been really fascinated by aliens and by that very word. It's things that are alien, things that are very different. And not just things that are physically different, but things that are culturally different, that have a different outlook. Of course, we've got the really exciting thing now with the encounters with Thargoids, and so little is known. But what we do know is that humanity encountered them hundreds of years ago, and the encounter didn't go well at all. We know that it was around an ammonia-based world. We know that they were very, very good at fighting. Now, since the few hundred years, since the Thargoids were encountered, there's been so much cover-up, there's been so much fakery, that we don't really know what's real. But what's great is we've had some pretty clear, incontrovertible evidence that it's there, and we're seeing more and more people encountering this very interesting, very strange alien species. There's rumor that some of the things in the past are true, but we still don't know what those are. We've seen the unknown artifacts which behave very strangely. We've seen the unknown probes. We've seen barnacles, which seem to be living creatures that can live in zero pressure on really cold worlds, that seem to be extracting substances from the depths of the planets and moons that they're on. As we see more and more alien elements appearing in the game, we will see more and more understanding of how they react. They are able to do things that we didn't think were possible, so their technology is very different. Encounters with alien species are unlikely to be perfectly equal, and I think that will be the case here. It's not necessarily that one is always better than the other. They're just very, very different, and quite often those differences lead to bad outcomes for one or both sides. And I think that's what we're seeing. More and more of this we expect to see over the next weeks, months, and even years as we get to know this alien species more and more. But the Thargoids are the first big, frightening species that we've met, and we know relatively little about them. Today we've revealed a lot more will be coming relating to Thargoids in 2.4, which is obviously a very exciting time. This will come in Q3 of this year, And we're doing something very new, something that I'm personally very, very excited about. So see you in the black.
All right, and there's a quick little video from Elite Dangerous.
Yes. So this is something that this game has so much depth to it. Like this is something that just seems like a game where there's a lot of generated content. I mean, it's the size of the galaxy, so it's something that you can just fly around and spend all the time you want. But there's a lot of story that's been hidden and put in this game that a lot of people that, if you're into that, have been piecing together. So people were starting to find hints at these aliens. If you go look, he was referring to these documents that you could find, playing and going to different places and finding documents that show this whole covering up of this encounter from 100 years ago, that you, if you're really into it, you can track and start to uncover yourself. So there's a lot to this game. And I think that the issue is the casual player doesn't ever realize this. They never get to see it. And so it's kind of like they're building a game that's for their dedicated audience, that also it's fun to go play, for other people to play too, but they're mostly going around and just doing economy missions. But if you're really into it, like, you can start tracing down things that you find.
Is this not any different than what we were just kind of talking about with Ark earlier, where like they're revamping the ending for?
No, well, I think this has been in that the whole time.
Okay.
So they've just been releasing. They just were keeping the aliens a secret, and they were putting hints in about it for a long time. And then they would put something in, they'd allow people to kind of see it. Would let them notice, oh, there's something here, but they would never give you the answer. Just like they wouldn't answer my question directly at PAX, because they wanted people to discover it themselves. They don't release this information to video gaming sites and for people to hear. So because they want it to be released by the people to discover it that are playing the game.
Yeah.
Which I respect them for that.
Absolutely. It's very respectable.
And so they've done a really good job, and they've really built on the features of making it so that you can have multiple people in a spaceship. You now have a crew. Like, they've just been building the experience that you can have in this game. And now this is kind of the storyline or the quest lines and just figuring out, like, here's what's wrapping it up. And I don't know what they're going to be doing after this, but I think they've made a world that they can just keep on growing, because it's so big. All they have to do is just start throwing in new stories that take you to different places in the universe. It's just happened to be one you didn't find out about yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, this game is huge. It was released in 2014, but they're very relevant as far as what they're releasing now. It's not like it's an old game. They just keep upgrading it, making the graphics better, you don't play this game and say this looks like a 2014 game.
Now, PH is saying it feels like if you want the full story, you need all the DLC. Is that a valid point? Yeah.
So this is the DLC. So the 2.4, they have the base game, but if you buy the DLC, which if you buy Horizons, that is all the DLC. So you buy one, that gives you the commander's pack. That gives you all the stuff to be able to have the multiple people on the ships and be able to land on planets, and having the vehicles that can go onto the planets. All that stuff is all done at once.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. Well, there you go.
And I think that's the thing, is they did what Ark was is doing, is they released that original DLC, and then people got mad because they're like, well, we don't want to be buying DLCs constantly. And so rather than keep doing that, they said, all right, if you bought this DLC, this is our season pass. What was going to be one DLC is now our season pass. Anyone who bought it, they get access to all future updates. And if you buy this DLC, if you buy the Horizon update, you get all future updates for free. And so that's what they've done with it.
Interesting.
So it's not one where you're not going to be paying. They do have cosmetics. If you want to buy some paint for your ship, you want to get kind of a custom look, if you want to have a bobblehead thing on your dash of your spaceship, you can do that. but that's all stuff that's purely cosmetic. So other than buying the expansion, pretty much, that's all you have to pay to play this game and experience all of it.
There you go.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and we'll do one more raffle here, if you're all right with that.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you needed to go over before.
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. So I'll open up a new one. So this will be another 30 points raffle, exclamation point giveaway in chat. And for this game, let's go ahead and do, I think I've marked these correctly. So Pillars of Eternity. This one I gave away. I gave away one of these. And I'll have to double check which one I did. But this is Pillars of Eternity. This is a game that it's kind of like the I think it's a turn-based style game. Let me pull it up here and then this is one that's $44.99, and it is a RPG fantasy isometric single player CRPG. So it's kind of like that Diablo style view of a game. So I will go ahead and post a link to that. But if you would like to enter for Pillars of Eternity, exclamation point giveaway in chat. This is mostly positive reviews recently and very positive overall.
And there you go. Very cool. Well, for current players, they've just got two quick games to the two that I want to focus on today. And that first one here is Ark. Currently playing this, 40,982. The 24-hour peak, 60,150. And the 7-day peak, 77,158. Those numbers are up about 10,000 for the 24-hour peak and the 7-day peak. I would imagine they thought those numbers are going to be a little bit higher, but they're not, unfortunately. So
that's their fault.
It's totally their fault. But
honestly,
10,000 players, so it's up a bit. In a couple of weeks, we'll probably be able to see the results in a one of those charts once we're probably off that dip. And then Battlegrounds, as always, currently playing 223,212. The 24-hour peak, 962,950. And the 7-day peak, 970,240. That is up. Last week, this same time, same place, the 24-hour peak was 877,844. So we're talking approximately another
just under 100,000.
Approximately 100,000. Let's round up a little bit.
So we
will be at 100,000, a million next
ahead
week.
of our schedule of when we thought they were going to be hitting 1 million.
Yes.
Because if it's not 1 million next week,
It will be.
I mean, I just can't imagine how it wouldn't be.
It will be.
This was a holiday weekend, so maybe they got a few extra players because of that. But still, with the amount that they're gaining, they should still be over.
Yeah, I mean, they're selling 60,000+ copies a day. So I would imagine it would be very disappointing if next week it goes down. Actually, no, not if it goes down. It'll be disappointing.
So far, we haven't seen that. So, but there's got to be a point where it starts to, or at least levels off.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how far that is away. I mean, if they can do something, if they, like right now, it's still at that peak. If they can continue to release something, do something right before it starts to taper off and keep that trend going, like it's amazing where they can go.
Yes,
and I'm sure that they have that in mind. Like, what can we release before people start to lose interest? Let's put out a new gun. Let's put out new vehicle. Let's put out new map. Like, just keep bringing the people back. Let's put out zombie mode. Like, whatever it is, I think they're probably timing that a little bit of trying to just maintain that upward trend, keep people buying it.
Absolutely.
So
there you go.
They've done a really good job of so far.
And that's current players.
All right. So do we want to go ahead and go into tip of the week?
Sure.
All right. Tip of the week, where either I talk about a specific game or a general gaming tip. This week is going to be about Ark, since we've been talking about this. So this is tip of the week. All right, so for Ark, we kind of hinted at a little bit of a new setting. They put it in their patch notes, but the gamma setting that you can now do in Ark, and this was done primarily for the streamers. just because the streamers were having a really hard time streaming this at night in the game, because it was so dark that people that were watching their streams could not see anything. So now you're able to adjust that gamma in game, and it's the only issue is it's not in the graphics settings. If you want to get to this, you actually have to go into your key binding settings. So they give you the option to assign one of two levels. It's kind of a weird system. I'm sure they'll be tweaking this a little bit in the future. But what you can do is set, if you press one key, it's one gamma level. If you press another key, it's another gamma level. So when you start your game and you're playing, you start out at one gamma level. So whatever the default is. And then you can change it and you never quite get back to the original. So go into the keybind options and then click where on the lower right, you will see two unassigned settings for gamma. If you click the word unassigned above each of those, because there's a box where you can enter a number in there, above that, you'll see the text unassigned. Click that, and then you'll be able to assign it a key. When you assign it that key, then when you're playing in game, you can press that key and it'll set whatever is in that number below. I recommend that you keep that first setting at default, because that'll be just kind of the normal setting that you want to be able to go back to during the daytime. For the second one, and you can put these to be plus minus, you can put just whatever key that is that doesn't have some other effect inside of game. And then set the other one maybe to a level of 10, because if you set it to about a level 10 at night, in the darkest of night, you can press it and you can still see in a cave. You can still see even without a torch. But you can jump back and forth between those numbers, so where you're still able to see. And it actually, I mean, in a way, it's kind of cheap because you don't need a torch at that point. You can just switch your gamma level and still be able to run around. But you will be able to, if you use this option, to flip back and forth. And I don't know why they didn't put this in graphics setting. They didn't do some sort of a slider. Maybe you can put the plus and minus on the keyboard or something to be able to raise and lower the gamma, whatever. But they decided to do this way, and I think it was just a quick way to make it so that people would stream the game when it was first released. So that is tip of the week.
All righty. Thank you very much, Brian.
Yes.
I think the reason they did that is they didn't want people just boosting their gamma and never changing it. So this way, every time you launch the game, you have to deal with it.
Yeah, you have to manually press the thing rather than saying it once.
Yeah, exactly. It's inconvenient to constantly adjust your gamma.
Well, and people shouldn't be using gamma anyways. Honestly, like this was something they had early on. People were abusing it just like they are now. I mean, just like I am, right? And so they took it out, and now they've put it back because streamers. But I'm sure they may just remove it again eventually once the streamers kind of die off, or make it so that you have it. They should have put a slider range so that it's not quite daytime at night. You know, you can't do it to that level, but make it to where it's just a little bit easier to see for the streamers.
But see, if they put a slider, then you would just set it and it would stay set.
That's what I'm saying though, is right now you're flipping between the two, but I think
that's the goal.
Hit escape. Yeah.
I literally think that's the goal. The goal is that regular players don't not use torches because you can just keep your gamma up all the time. Like I think that's part of the reason behind it. I actually think it's a genius idea.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I mean, it works. I use it.
Yeah.
But
would you admit it's inconvenient? The toggle back and forth?
No, because I have two keys. No, because like at night I just press one key, and the day I put it back. I think if you made them go into the settings and slide the slider, it'd be even more inconvenient.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but if I were really into PvP and I felt like it was, you could say it's giving everyone has the ability to do it, but it gives an advantage to the people that know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. So are we good to do this last raffle?
I believe so. What do we got?
All right. So for this one, congratulations, Nisco 3000. You have one. And this last one was given away or given to us by Green Man. So Green Man, thank you very much. Pillars of Eternity. I know we have another one that someone else gave us as well. So I thought I'd give one of them away. So I'm going to look in my sent messages and make sure I don't give away the same one twice.
That would be unfortunate. You have people pitch Yep, pitching, hitting you with pitchforks and stuff. Rioting.
Yep. All right. So if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or you're more than welcome, go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Of course, go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. On the right-hand side, click to join our Discord group. Also, if you are, for some reason, think of it throughout the week to maybe go and look at different podcast apps, different places you can find our media. Make sure we're there. I haven't seen, it looks like we're good to go on that, but we'll just do one more week of having people check to make sure we're listed everywhere. But it looks like everything is rolling smoothly on that. But if you could go look on your favorite podcast app, just make sure we're listed there correctly. And if you ever do notice that we're not listed somewhere, please make sure you let us know. contact@infectionpodcast.com. Make sure on Friday you join us for Game of the Week. That is going to be Battlegrounds. And so if you follow our Steam group, you'll get a notification of that. Otherwise, join our Discord group, and we start playing a little bit before the official time, but that'll be 9 p.m. Eastern that we officially start that on Friday.
Yes, and speaking of that, August of 2017, Brian, last month was our highest downloaded podcast month I believe we've ever had. So I want to thank everybody who's coming out, supporting the show, listening to the show. We do
Infect your
appreciate
friends.
it.
Tell people.
Yes, infect your the worst possible. Did you tell your buddies over at this other podcast about infecting your friends?
No, I didn't say anything about infect your friends.
Did they have a good studio?
Though. No, they're it's a new podcast. They just started out. So I mean, it's a room with mics and.
It wasn't impressive.
Well, I mean, they're just starting. Like they were kind of. That was like their first interview for it, I think.
Oh, ooh, look at that! The inaugural broadcast. I'm looking forward to hearing that, Brian. Hopefully, you said. Did you mention me being the co-pilot of the program?
Yes, I did. We talked about
you're the host,
and I met. No, I didn't say that you're only a producer.
Nick, the producer, and Brian, the host.
But they were asking like how did how did we meet?
Oh, there you go.
As far as being across, so far away, and just it was a lot. It was pretty much
a lot
about
hanging out with young boys on the internet. I
didn't go into that far.
All right, we got to wrap it up. Brian, thank you so much, and see you Friday for PUBG, which I'm sure we will have plenty of people playing that. My camera is not. And there it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Infection. Full show notes. Like, again, we talked about like that Friday the 13th update and that long King of the Kill message. All that stuff will be in the show notes, infectionpodcast.com. Click on that. Look at stuff through the week. As always, join our Discord server. You can got a couple new things in it. The news channel, post your updates to stuff, games, and then the deals channel. You find any cool gaming tech, kind of nerdish deals, throw them in there, and then we'll alert people to those. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for another episode of Infection. My name is Nick Craig. At Nicholas M. Craig is my Twitter. You can follow me there. We'll see you next week for Infection.